Virtual environments are a very critical piece to your Python workflow. They ensure that you can have different versions of different packages in different environments and still everybody's happy working together on different projects. Today, we're going to look at 3 different virtual environment managers: Conda, pipenv, and venv. The Kedro docs cover all 3. We're going to start out on Conda. I prefer Conda as my virtual environment manager. It gives me both the interpreter and the packages. As far as I know, the other 2 just give you packages in their own little sandbox. That's nice, but I like to have the interpreter as well. That way I can select which version of Python goes with those packages. And I don't need another tool to manage that or to rely on my system Python version. So let's jump over. I've done Kedro new 3 different times for each of these projects. You can see here I have a Kedro project from a Kedro new command. All 3 of these will have that. So to create an environment in Conda, we're going to specify Conda create -n for the name of the environment. I like to name it after the project, so we'll call it Kedro Conda. Python equals 3.8, which is the latest that Kedro supports at this moment. -y will create it without asking us any questions. Okay, now our environment's created. We can activate it with Conda activate Kedro Conda. You can see here, my prompt is changed, showing me that I now have Kedro Conda active. Now if I do a which pip, you can see that it's in my virtual environment. So when it's installing things, it will use this pip and install packages to this environment. Sometimes it's good to check. I've had some cases where it shows up in the prompt, but yet pip goes back to the system pip. Next, we can do a pip install -e. I like to install my things into my dev environment as editable so I can update them and everything updates along with any file changes I do. -e src. And that should install for this project. Let's jump on over to Kedro venv next. So we can take a look at the article here. Okay, it is important to note that with Conda, it does store the packages in the interpreter in its own root directory. Mine is set up to home/miniconda3. It doesn't install it next to the project. It also comes with its own way of managing environments with an environment.yaml. Next, we're going to look at virtualenv. Very respectable way, very respectable option to use. It's built right into Python, doesn't require any additional installs if you're using a modern version of Python. Typically, your virtual environment is stored inside of your project's working directory, typically in a .venv or a venv. Either one. It's up to you if you want it hidden or not. And like I said, it does not package the interpreter. Jump on over to this. And what we would do is a python -m venv.venv. So this is telling virtualenv to create a virtualenv in the .venv directory. So now we would execute a file in here, venv. I think it's in bin activate. Yep. So we source this file. Sorry. Now we can see this venv is active. And we can do which pip and it tells me pip is coming from my virtual environment. So next we can do the same pip install -e source, and it will go off and install our project. Uh, while it does that, we'll jump into our last virtual environment manager, fibenth. Um, Similar to Conda, it does store virtual environments in a global directory. For my machine, the root directory was home/.local share virtual envs. It does come with a way of managing its own way of managing environments with a pip file. The main benefit there is using the pipfile.lock to pin all of your versions down. And honestly, if I was to use pipenv with Kedro, I would probably kind of switch up some of the packaging of Kedro to utilize that lock file. By default, they just give you some instructions to use pipenv as a virtual environment manager, not necessarily as managing all your dependencies. I run pipx run pipenv shell. And this is just going to create a virtual environment for this project. I do a which pip. It tells me I have a virtual environment, Kedro pipenv, and then some sort of hash there, /pip. So it's already ready to go. It was that easy. It's probably the easiest one here to create virtual environments. And again, we would do pip install source. Yeah, that's it. I'll have a link to the article in the description below. A link to the full Kedro playlist as well should pop up in the card above. And that's all. Have fun pipelining in your new virtual environment.